Hi everyone, my name is Sean, and today here with Lontra, we're going to cover how to un-F your account. So there's actually a process we've developed in-house that's been pretty great at being able to come in and take over an account, identify the things that are really the most problematic, and then isolate those things and create a plan to fix them. The example we're going to be using today is the account that we took over most recently. So today is April 15th, and we took over an account on April 1st, which was a Saturday. Normally don't do things on Saturdays, but this account couldn't come in until that day, so we were just a little bit too focused on, like, we needed to get this done because we know it works. And spoiler alert, in the first 14 days, we saw a almost $1,000 increase in profit while actually having their best seller out of stock. The thing that's most irritating about this is it actually isn't even as good as I think we could have done. I think we could have done even better than this, but the reason that we didn't do this as well as we could is because the way that the advertising was set up in the account was a little bit too messed up for us to just make all the changes we wanted at once. So yeah, and also we've got a screenshot from Seller Board. I wanted to be able to show that in another tool, this also shows the same results. So here in Seller Board, 14 days, doing pretty well. And then here, first 14 days with Lontra, we're able to kind of like break down which product. I renamed all the ASINs to something random because we wanted to keep our clients' data secret. But this is kind of how it broke down. 21% tacos, which is still a little bit high. We don't love that, but having some quite solid profit so far has been really good. And as you can see, not even every product in the account is crushing it. So this product is overpriced but has potential. We've got an up-and-comer, the best seller that was out of stock for 7 days, second best seller, just crushing it. And then we've got a couple of products we're liquidating because it's just like they're not going to stay in the account long term. So there's a lot of different things that we have been doing on this account. So before we get into like the entire meat and bones, this is the structure. You get your data, and by the way, if you want to find out more about our tool, it's called Lontra. You can go to getlontra.com. We're called Lontra Analytics, and we pretty much automate this entire process. I did this process hopefully for the very last time when we took over this account using a spreadsheet, but we could do this in about half the time using Lontra. So normally this will take us anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how big the account is. With Lontra, we basically get to cut that time in half because the data loads faster, all of it's blended, all that stuff. So shameless sales pitch over. Let's get into the good stuff. So you get your data, which if you're doing this and you already have Lontra, you're done. That step's done. You need to decide if you're doing parent or child ASIN strategy. We're going to get into what that is in a second. You'll set some initial goals. You're going to perform some search term isolation and see where you're really getting hurt. Then we're going to look at branded versus non-branded spend, see where there's some opportunities. Look at rankable versus unrankable products. Normally, because we're doing this without Lontra, we're not going to be able to do all the products. Normally, we'll just do the bestseller. And then portfolio and campaign structure is really helpful. Looking at how we're optimizing towards our existing goals. And then seasonality analysis. So with that said, we have two different templates that come along with this. There's one that's like a template that's a spreadsheet with all of the formulas made for you. It basically mimics what we have in Lontra. And then the second one is a worksheet. So this is our actual, template you can copy, and I've already filled it out just to save everyone time. You don't need to see how I paste things into a spreadsheet. And then this is the actual worksheet that we'll be using, and we'll be using this to make notes of what we need to change, what needs to be adjusted, and then what's even better is we can keep track of where there's opportunity in the accounts. So what you need to do in order to get that template is you click on this bonus material right here, and this will open up in a new tab, and all you need to do is throw your email in here, and we will send you an email that looks like this. And there are two templates, the template and the worksheet. The other way you can do it is you can fill in this form right here and hit subscribe. The exact same thing will happen, and you'll get an email that looks like that. So we already went over the proof, but in general, I think that this could have been even better, but I wanted to do something that was incredibly recent, and so this is the most recent piece of example that we have on how to unf an account. So this is where that video will be living, and let's get into it. So like we were talking about before, we're going to get our data right now. I'm not going to do that live. I've got really detailed instructions on exactly how to get all of this data. You could even get a VA to do it using these instructions because that's what we do. We'll just get a VA to go download each of these reports and then paste them into the respective tabs. So what you'll see here, is you will see if you click on this, there's, this is the steps section. This is where you paste business reports, where you paste the search term report, advertised product report, bulk operations report, sponsored display ads report, bestseller search query performance report, and brand analytics report. If you don't have those two, because you don't have brand analytics, that is okay, but it will take away one of the major steps. But this is still going to be effective even without that. Okay, so let's get into it. Assuming you've pasted all of this data in, the next thing you need to do is, well, first you need to make sure that your columns line up with our columns. Amazon has a crazy set of columns, so just make sure that the data is all there and that there are no formulas broken. But I already checked that because I wanted to make this video quickly, and so I can assure you that all of the data in here is correct. So let's get into the actual fun of this. So first we need to decide on a parent versus child ASIN approach. So what you would do is you would copy and paste all of your ASINs in here, and then we would, as well as the advertise ASIN and title. And so this would be ASIN, Nicholas Cage pillow, which is what we're going to start using as our example products. And then, so we'll call the Rock pillow. And then Nicholas Cage sequence pillow. Chris Rock pillow. And so these are all just going to be ASINs, and this is the first major step. We need to decide, well, do we need to run a parent strategy or a child strategy for each of these ASINs? So the first major check is, are we sending them, or did we put all of these products on one parent ASIN, or are they on all individual child ASINs? If they're all individual child ASINs, then the answer is quite simple. It's all child. And you would just drag this down, and that step is done. Now, imagine we had these two Nicolas Cage pillows on the same ASIN. Then they might be parent ASINs. They might be parent strategy because they would be benefiting from being on the same page as each other. Because if you're going to look for a Nicolas Cage pillow, okay, maybe you don't want it in sequence, or maybe you do want it in sequence. That's really the kind of thing that you can do in order to gain some additional incremental ad spend and spend money to benefit the entire listing instead of just the individual child ASIN. So because we know that this is not actually a Nicolas Cage pillow account, I know that these were all child ASIN products, and so that's the strategy we're going to be running. But just to be clear, are there variations? If no, child ASIN. If there are variations, are they targeting the same audience or not? If they are targeting the same audience, then you probably want to run those on a parent strategy. If you're not running them all or if they're not all targeting the same audience, then it's probably still child strategy. So what's a good example of that? Well, a good example of a parent strategy would be jeans. It would not make sense to have a different pair of jeans for every size, So if you have a bunch of different sizes and you're like Levi's or someone, you would definitely want to run a parent strategy. Now, on the other hand, imagine you're a protein powder company and you put all of your protein powders on one parent listing, but one of them is vegan, one of them is not vegan, one of them's got some other blended supplements in there. The vegan and not vegan is going to be a big different market. So you probably don't want to go after that. So that's an example of someone who would not be a good fit for the parent strategy. You'd probably want to run child strategy on each of those sub ASINs, even though they're under a parent. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've decided on the parent-child strategy approach. We need to set some ASIN goals. And generally speaking, we do this before we figure out how everything's going, because we just want to know, okay, great, how are we actually performing right now? So what we're going to do is we're just going to put what our actual ACOS goals are. Now, in this case, if you don't know or you're not sure or you're like, what's a good goal, just start with 30. Put 30% in there and just see if you're actually tracking anywhere close to that. And that is normally what I recommend people start with, just to see. Now, it obviously depends. If you sell big, heavy products, you might want to have like a 10% ACOS. If you sell small and light products that are replenishables, you might want to have a 50% ACOS. It's really it really depends quite a bit on what the product is and what your margins are. But if you don't know what to write, just write 30 and move on and get into the next portion of this. So, search term isolation. Next thing you want to do is, so first you want to make sure that you've filled all this out, and then we're going to jump over to deduplicating search terms. And what we're going to be looking at here is we're going to jump over to search term isolation. As you can see, I have hidden all of these columns because this is our client's real data, and I don't think they would appreciate us sharing it. But here is some interesting stuff. Generally speaking, you'll be able to see the match type as well as the search term as well as the campaign name. And the big thing we're looking for here is spend or clicks or sales or all of the above in multiple match types. Because really, if you're spending on the same term in multiple match types, there's a good chance that you are bidding against yourself or driving up your own cost per click, or in general, you're just not really able to isolate yourself, or rather isolate your top terms. So in general, that is something we absolutely recommend and something that we have seen great results with. So what we might do here is we might come over here and write, we'll say isolate this customer search term needs to be moved to exact match. And then maybe this other one, maybe we saw another one in there, broad and auto campaign, both spending, negative, exact in the auto, so we can see how it performs. And you probably just want to do that all the way down. So if there's, every time we see something like this, it's not possible to have a completely isolated search term account or completely isolated search terms in your account, but it's a nice place to aspire to, especially if you are finding a lot of different instances of you bidding against yourself in multiple match types. Generally speaking, it's better to just not. We had a big debate about this. We spent a lot of time thinking about it. And in the end, what we realized is having control of your search terms is going to let you rank more effectively. And ranking and getting a ton of organic sales is something that's become really second nature ever since we built Lontra. Because once you're able to actually manage it or measure it and measure what actions will impact it, which we're going to get into in subsequent videos and articles. Once you're able to do that, then you're going to be able to see that certain actions you take, especially once you've isolated a term, will just lead to way more organic sales. So a great example being single keyword campaigns. Anyways, drop us an email if you want to learn more about this. We are seeing gigantic results and we're always testing new things, so would love to hear more. So anyways, basically you'd want to come through and just make notes about any of the things that need to be isolated. Then the very next thing we're going to do is jump over and look at our branded versus non-branded spend. So here we'll click over to this, and so this is branded, this is non-branded, and what you need to do in both of these, you would click the edit on each of them, and in here, the customer search term, so you would write your brand name in here, so does not contain, and you would do the same thing in the other one, and write does contain, text contains rather, and write your brand, and then hit OK. And that will filter all of your information out. So I can't show you this because it's got our customer's real brand name in there. But the thing that's really cool is we can see that our branded percentage of spend and sales is actually quite low. A lot of the time when we take over accounts, this is like 25 to 35% or higher. And generally speaking, that is going to be one of the first places where we start to cut spend and start to isolate search terms. Because if you can see that we are spending a lot of money on our own branded terms, one of the first things we'll do is try turning off all of our branded spend and creating a test inside of Lontra just to see, oh, okay, interesting. How much do our sales go down? How much do our ad sales go down versus our profits? How does that all work when we turn off all of our branded keywords? That's the kind of activity that can make you a ton of money, because you might find out that you're actually spending a lot of money only to get sales that you would have gotten anyway on your own brand, especially if you are a big brand or a brand that's been around for some time selling on Amazon. So, we have some people who've been selling on Amazon. I think this account's actually been around since like 2018 or maybe even 2017. And so it's built up quite a bit of brand recognition in the market it's in. So there might be some good opportunity for them to, continue to spend as little as possible on their brand and just keep raking it in. So we would come over here, and we would just make the note of low branded spend. This is good. No action. And a great example of if it was the other way, you might say high branded spend. Perform brand. High branded spend. Perform or negative phrase match. Our brand in all major campaigns and evaluate performance over the next. You might say to yourself, okay, so Sean, imagine I do that. Then what needs to happen? Well, what you would probably do is just do another one of these. So either you or maybe your virtual assistant would just go in and get all the same reports 30 days after you perform that activity. And then you could just take a look again at this exact same thing and just say, oh, did our brand percentage go down? Or if you sign up with Lontra, we'll show you exactly how to create like a really, really simple, easy to use dashboard where you can just compare period over period. And that's been something that our clients have absolutely loved. So let me know. It's a really simple test, and it's one of like the highest likelihood positive outcomes you can run on your account. Okay, so now that we've done branded versus non-branded, the next thing we need to start looking at is rankable versus non-rankable. So in our tool, we will do this for we'll do it, first of all, slightly differently, and secondly, we'll do it for every product. But if you're doing it just on your bestseller, which is what we're doing, as you can see, we hit a bunch of columns, and then we're looking at search volume, total clicks, our keyword percentage, or like our keyword conversion percentage. And this is not organic, or sorry, this is brand analytics conversion. So we're looking at a bunch of different things from the search query performance report and blending it with the brand analytics report. And then this is all brand analytics data that we have filled out compared to our what everything else. This is brand analytics data that we are seeing compared to everyone else in our market. So just taking a quick look here, we're looking at like our clicks on these different terms and comparing it to search volume. And then the biggest thing we're really looking at here is our ASIN's conversion rate compared to the keyword level conversion rate. So this keyword level conversion rate is for the entire keyword and then or search term. And this is our brand's search term or our ASIN's conversion rate for that term. Then we can compare the top 3 most clicked ASINs that we get from the brand analytics report. There's a lot of good data in here. If you want to open up all of the different columns, you can get a lot of really nice little insights. But the major ones we're looking at here is we want to compare this column to this column, and then we want to compare our units sold to the top 3 products in this niche to see if there's a chance that we could make a big dent in any of them. Now, like I said, when I did this, we were out of stock on this product, so the data doesn't look very good. But the one that really jumps out is, so we've got our ASIN right here. We haven't really made very many sales on most of these terms. Only this term has gotten a lot of clicks, but we've got a very low conversion rate here. So I might say to myself, I don't know if this product is really rankable. And then the same thing right here. So we'll take a look at this, and we've only got 4 clicks and 1 order, which is not statistically significant at all, but a 25% conversion rate compared to a 21% conversion rate. I would watch this term really closely because it's got high search volume, a lot of clicks, a lot of total sales on this keyword. There might be some opportunity there. And then as I keep scrolling down, I would make note of different keywords like this. And then I would start to write down notes here on the rankable versus unrankable. And just say something along the lines of, so if you're only doing this for your top ASIN, then you just make notes here. So top 2 terms have potential, but all other terms are not running well for us right now. And maybe I'd also throw like note, we were OS at the time of analysis. But say you want to do that multiple times, what you would do is just go next in order and go download the brand analytics and search query performance for your next up ASIN. And you could do this for every single ASIN if you wanted. It would just take a long time. But if you feel like it's worth it, then do it. Yeah, we did this, but in Lontra for the rest of them. So then after rankable versus non-rankable, the next thing we'll do is the portfolio overview. So really the point of this is to just try to structure the account properly. Now this one for me was really easy because there is nothing in any portfolio, so I needed to structure everything into their correct portfolios, which I did. So I would just come over here and say, put all of the products into portfolios. Make sure there are no ASINs with no multi-ASIN campaigns. Right now, nothing is in a portfolio, but the account does have portfolios. And then just throw a 0 in there and then throw a 1. So part of why we like having the 0 and 1 is then we can actually have maybe someone senior fill this out and then someone more junior go implement it. That's one of the ways that we save time at our agency. But this is something that we think is really, really helpful when it comes to saving time, especially if you can be very specific with what needs to happen in the account. So once you've done the portfolio overview, you just do the campaign structure overview right after it. And good news, they're in the same tab. So all you have to do is come right over here, and so there'll be campaign, match type, and all that kind of stuff in one view. And what you want to look for is campaigns that have more than one ASIN in them, and that's what this is right here. So a unique count of child ASIN inside of this campaign. So luckily, this account did not have any multi-ASIN campaigns. So first, I would make note of that. I'd go to campaign structure, no multi-ASIN campaigns, no action. But imagine you did have multi-ASIN campaigns. Let's say this has a multi-ASIN campaign, break it up, and put them in their own portfolios. The only time where you would be able to break this rule is if you, for example, had something along the lines of a branded campaign or a branded portfolio. And if you needed that, then you could just have your branded campaign or branded portfolio with all of the campaigns in there, and you don't have to break it out. Although what we found is when we do break out branded campaigns into individual ASIN campaigns, it does lead to better results. So while it may be low on the list of priorities, it is helpful. So the other thing that was more important in this account specifically was multi-match types inside of ASINs. So this is the unique count of match types, and we've got a bunch of different match types all mixed in. We always try to do one ASIN per campaign, or that's a parent strategy or a child strategy per product. Then we'll have one match type per product and per campaign, and one ad group per match or per campaign. We just try to have it all really simple and isolated, because if something goes wrong, you can very quickly identify where it went wrong and what went wrong. But if you have it all mixed together, it's hard to isolate, it's hard to identify, it's hard to analyze, and it's hard to fix. And generally speaking, that's one of the first things we're able to implement inside of an account. So the major thing that I actually did on this account that led to such great results where I just stopped bidding against ourselves. So I didn't even need to do search term deduplication, because the easiest thing to do was just get rid of all the mixed match types. So remove all mixed match types from campaigns, pause lowest performing match type, and then mixed. Actually, I mean, that's just what I might do if I were to give this to somebody else on my team to do it for me, is I would write the specific campaigns and then which match type to put in here. So Nick Cage, research campaign, pause, phrase, and exact, just broad left. Also make sure to negate our brand. That's the kind of instruction I would leave for one of our VAs, and generally speaking, yeah, I mean, we've got a great team, so they would easily take that and run, but that's the kind of stuff that anyone could really work with and get a good result from. So then what you would need to do after you've done campaign structure is just make sure that you absolutely crush it. Quick side note, how do you break up a campaign quickly? We'll cover it more in detail below, but basically you just find either which ASIN or which match type or whichever thing is performing best, then copy the campaign, and assume you want to have a campaign in each match type, which we don't generally. We'll usually have one in broad and one in exact, and we'll migrate terms from the research to the winners, which is research being broad, winners being exact. And what we'll do is we will use the copy campaign function. So imagine you have a campaign and you've got broad doing really well and exact doing really well. What you could do is copy the campaign, and then the lower performing one would get paused in the best campaign, and the original would just keep being that. And then the new campaign would get restarted, like the copied campaign would be restarted, and you just pause the highest performing match type and do the lower performing match type in there. If the copy campaign function isn't working on your Amazon account, you can also do this with bulk files, or you can do it manually through the UI. Although I would not recommend that. I think copy campaign is usually the best option. Okay, so last step is optimization towards goals. And so what we're looking for here is we just want to compare our results to our ACOS goal and just see, okay, how are we doing? So because it would be a little bit too hard to give all this data away, I didn't bother pasting it all in here because it would be too hard to line it all up. But the basic premise is you would want to compare your so actually it's right here. So what is our goal ACOS on all of these? It's 30, and if you take a look, our actual ACOS is not 30 for any of these products. But we also have a goal tacos, and our goal tacos is 10%. If you take a look, some of our products are doing well and hitting 10%, and some are really way too high. Now, luckily, our organic percentages are doing quite well on this account, so we don't need to worry too much. But in general, what I think we're going to do is, well, what we already did in the first 14 days was we cut our ACOS way down here and tried to keep our tacos still being pretty good here, because that is really where we saw the biggest opportunities inside this account. So then what would you do is you'd come in here and just, here, I'll delete all those and just say missing or high ACOS, low tacos, need to adjust PPC spend. And to be frank, the entire account was like that, so I'm just going to copy and paste this all down. But you could have multiple different things. So you could say low ACOS and low spend, need to find more high converting terms. That's an easy example of something that we might say. Or low PPC conversion rate, and high organic sales. Need to find which terms actually convert for us. Do a deep dive of the search query performance. What's another example? High ACOS, high tacos, low non-branded spend. Need to look into how competitive our offer is and consider changing. That one is actually a very common one that we get across. People will come to us and say, like, I can't get ads to work. It used to convert so much better, that kind of stuff. Our ad spend's going up, our tacos are going up. And often what that leads to being is a decreased conversion rate over time, while PPC spend has either gone up or cost per click has gone up. And so what you want to do is go and make notes of all those different things and then write them down so that somebody can do them. Now, unfortunately, I put the note and the next action in the same cell, but you probably want to just do something like this, where we would put the note in one cell and the next action in another, so that your team member can go do this for you. But you don't have to, obviously. But this is, generally speaking, the way that we would do it, because it saves the most time and it helps you isolate the analysis from the implementation. And so that is the way that we would do it. Okay, so then the last thing that needs to happen is you need to set up an action plan. And we try to get really specific, like who, what, where, when, why. So you need to make a plan of what needs to be done and then prioritize it. Generally speaking, what you want to do is conduct the analysis in this order. And then what we generally speaking will do is implement the analysis in the opposite order. So you'll notice we didn't cover seasonality. We haven't found a good way to do seasonality analysis without our tool, but the thing you could do is just go into go into your regular Amazon account and just take a look and see, is there any seasonal trends? Like, is your product great at Father's Day and as a gift at Christmas? Is your product great at back to school and Christmas? Is your product like a supplement and absolutely crushes it in Q1 and the rest of the year is maybe a little bit more even? That's the kind of stuff that you want to do with seasonality. But once you've done seasonality, I mean, there's not really a big next step. You just want to make note of it. And then from there, you want to actually implement in the opposite direction. So optimization towards goals. You'll want to make sure you have a plan for what to optimize first. Then you want to fix up portfolio and campaign structure. Then you'll want to work on your products. So are they rankable or unrankable? Then you'll want to fix up branded spend versus non-branded. And then you'll probably want to do search term isolation. Now, some of the search term isolation you'll actually get from fixing up your portfolio and campaign structure. So that's part of why I recommend doing it in the reverse order. But coming back all the way down here, what you want to do is make sure you've got a plan and then implement it. And honestly, this can take 8 hours sometimes. It's a real pain, but it pays huge dividends. Like $1,000 in 14 days is the example that we're looking at here. And I'm not even satisfied with that. I've seen way bigger jumps, but I'm just trying to use the most recent example we have. So what you want to do is you want to actually just go in and you'll want to undo the mixed campaigns, undo the mixed portfolios. This is like a how-to here. Then you also want to negate duplicated search terms and just make sure all this gets done. And then if you don't do it yourself, say you have somebody on your team do it for you, you need to check that this was done. So the easiest way to do that is to go into this worksheet and just look at if there's a 0 or a 1 here. And even spot check. Sometimes we'll spot check even though we trust our team. I'll just go spot check just to make sure that it was done correctly. Just come in here and just see if the things that you made notes about actually got done. Because that's really the biggest opportunity, is to make sure that everything was done the right way from the beginning, because this is going to set you up for an absolutely fantastic base. Okay, so great. Say that's all done. Then what do you want to do next? Well, you can check out our Lamper's Guide to Profits. It's Lontra Account Management Process, or LAMP for short, is the name of our process, and it's one of the easiest ways that we can get you to profitability quickly by just following these set of steps that we lay out. Then you can also check out our shameless offer, the Lontra Analytics software tool. We'd love to give you a demo and come check out what we're doing there. And then shameless sub offer is you can also hit us up and see if you qualify to let us manage your account. We are a little bit selective, but even if you hit us up, we'll try to give you good information either way. We're not really like these. We're not ever planning on being a big agency. Really, we're just consultants who kind of found ourselves in a situation where we're banded together. So, with all that said, thank you so much for coming along on this ride with me. I hope that you're able to un-F your account, and I will talk to you soon.